We just finished talking about object lines, hidden lines, extension lines, and dimension lines. The next thing we're going to go into and talk about, and we also talked about center lines. One thing that I didn't cover was leader lines. Leader lines are lines like this right here. A leader has an arrow on the end of it, and it has a node attached to it, or it could be a dimension such as this right here going down to this angle. But it's got something that's pointing to an object in the drawing, and it's got a node or a dimension attached to it. The next line types that we're going to talk about here is going to be cutting plane lines. We're going to learn about section views on up in your units as we go on through the book, but line types we cover cutting plane lines. All we need to know is, if you notice here, we actually have a part. It's showing the outside of the object down here, and it's actually showing the inside of the object up here. This cutting plane line is showing where we would actually cut through the part so we could look into the inside of it. So a cutting plane line is going to have a long, a dash dash, long, and then a dash dash. And then it'll have two arrowheads on the end of it pointing in the direction that we would be looking into the section view. Now, you don't have to understand everything about section views right now. All I need you to understand is this is a cutting plane line right here. These lines on the end of the cutting plane line right here. These lines are pointing in the direction that you would look, and we call those line of view. That means the direction you're going to look in the view. Line of view. Now, up here we also have another type of line type. It's covered in your book. It's referred to as section lines. If you notice, it's got lines that go cross-hatching and all this part here. Those are section lines. You see different types of section lines in your book. Whenever you're looking at the different section lines, they will show you different types of section lines for different materials and that kind of thing. You'll get into that more whenever we get to sections. But just know that this is section lining. All of these line types can be found in your book on page 13. If you notice, it goes object lines, and then section lines is right in underneath it. Then it goes hidden lines, and then center lines, dimension and extension. We covered those. Cutting plane line, we talked about the cutting plane line. Something that we have not talked about that's in your book are break lines. They're on page 13. If you look at your break lines, you've got one that looks squiggly, and then you got one that looks kind of like a heartbeat. What these are for, if you had a big long object, something like a yardstick, let's say. You had a big long object, and you wanted to put this on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and it was 36 inches long, then you could actually put your dimensions on it that told how tall it is, maybe a 1 inch or something like that. And then of course you're going to have your dimension that goes all the way down through here, and it's going to be 36 inches long. Now, if you wanted to put that on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper at full scale, you couldn't do that because it's 36 inches long. But you could actually shrink that down and put break lines, and I can't draw break lines very good when I've got a pencil, but you could put those break lines in here, something like that, and then your actual lines in between it would go away, and you would actually have a dimension that went overall and it would say 36 inches. But since we put about 4 inches here or 4 inches there, we could fit that on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and that allows us to break the object down and fit it on the paper. That's what break lines are used for. Now, we've got short break lines and we got long break lines. I always have people ask me, say, well, how long does the object have to be to use long break lines compared to short break lines? I'm not sure what the rules are on that. I'm sure there are some standards out there, but just be able to recognize long break lines or the little heartbeat looking symbol type lines, and then got the zigzag in it, and then you've got the squiggly free-handed lines for short break lines. Then you go to leader line. I've already explained those. Phantom lines is a long dash dash, long dash dash, but it doesn't have the arrowheads that a cutting plane line has on it. The phantom lines are for showing alternate positions of parts, or you could actually show, if you wanted to show a gear shift on a vehicle and you wanted to show the different positions that gear shift could be in, you could draw it with phantom lines. We don't really get into the adjacent part and alternate position lines or the ditto lines. I won't even test you on those. But all the other line types we have mentioned, I will. Then we get into symbols. I will get back with you on symbols in another video when I pull up another. I have to snip another page out of the book to do that. The only symbol that I can show you right now is right here on this dimension. It's talking about a diameter. Okay, you can't really tell that this is round in this picture. You can tell it when you look over here in the right side view, but here in the front view you can't tell it's round. But we denote that that's round because it's got a diameter symbol, which a diameter symbol looks like this. Got a circle and a slash going through it. That tells us that that is round. It's a diameter 1 5/8 inches. So that's one symbol that we will use. Another symbol that we use would be this R value right here on this dimension. That means there's a radius of 1/16 right in there. Now, we will also get into a little bit more of the symbols whenever I pull it up on another video.